Hello, Clayton. We're going to take a look at your aesthetics and control posting here. So we'll kind of just jump right in. We've got your to hold or not to hold uh, image, and we'll kind of just sort of scroll through and take a look just to see that you got everything in here. You've got your focal length identified, your shutter speed identified. That's all very good. You got the set 1 for your depth. You get set 2, set 3. On the set 1, looked like you had your color balance shifted more to the warm on this equivalent exposures. Looks like you've got that one set to pretty warm as well. Looks like you're moving around a little bit on those. Because you're correcting them and you're not moving them too much, I'm just going to assume that those are deliberate. A couple of dark exposures on the you know better, but we'll get to that. So let's take a look at some of these images. So the 24 millimeter 1/25th of a second, clearly you're going to be able to hold the camera steady on these, and you are really towing the line here with being able to have darkness without it getting really too dark. This one works. This one gets away from you just a little bit. And what's the difference? This one working and this one getting away from you. What the difference is just that breadth of luminosity that you lose on the other one that this one has. This one has right here, and then right underneath here has this little bit of luminosity still holding on to it that this one loses a little bit. Yes, you have it right here and right up in the corner here, but what ends up happening on this one is the placement of where that brightness is really much better suited, like right up on the top here and right below here. Visually, it feels more balanced than over here. This one just kind of gets absorbed a little bit. Otherwise, it's a very interesting lighting scenario, and I'm glad that you're pushing the limits there as far as what's dark and what's not dark. Once you get into the 15th of a second, on a 24th of a 24 millimeter, you can tend to hold it relatively steady, but for most people, a 15th of a second starts to get in that weird middle range where you can kind of hold it steady, but not really. You want to almost avoid a 15th of a second most of the time. And it was what I chose for the experiment was to just really demonstrate that to you. So you saw a 15th of a second might be something that I want to avoid in most cases when I have to hand hold. I don't want to try it kind of thing. Once you get into then a half a second, when you know you can't hold it steady, you have to play with the movement. And I think you're doing it beautifully here because your quality of light. This really has nothing to do with whether it's in focus or out of focus. This has to do with the fact that you are using a very beautiful directional quality of light, that you're using the objects to break up that light, and that you are not apologizing for the movement and you're just allowing that to happen. That's what is making these things kind of work. Otherwise, if you were trying to hold it really steady and trying to fight the idea that these have movement, it just totally wouldn't happen for you. So you're carrying that through with the 44 millimeter. You're getting a more exaggerated feel with a 15th of a second because you have a slightly longer shutter speed. You were figuring out, you must have really been shaking that camera to get the 15th of a second movement there, but you figured something out on that and you're attempting to do it. Good job. I'm glad you're sort of seeing something, and on the second try, you're trying to like maybe do some things a little bit differently. You can get even more exaggerated here. This is exactly what I want you to be doing on this. So excellent. Keep going with this. This is precisely what I wanted everybody to be playing with, precisely what I wanted everyone to go with. Here we got a little bit warm here with the settings. I don't think it's quite too warm, but it's getting there. The phenomenon here is just simply to observe depth of field. I wanted you to set up a scenario where you could connect the f-stops with a visual, pure and simple, so that you have the experience of setting up working through the f-stops, seeing what kind of f-stop options you have, understanding that there are gaps in between whole f-stops, click, 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 that kind of thing. Working with them so you'll memorize the numbers and so on. It's really just an experiment, a training exercise to get to know those f-stops. Here you corrected on the color balance, and I think we're in a much better place. You can see that bone can almost gets to be in focus. It's very close to be to the shot. But you could see just by using the aperture, we can almost get that super close thing in focus. If it were a little bit farther away, you would have been able to get it. Again, here, that bone just about gets to be in focus. The other bone that's just a little bit farther away, the smaller one there, you can see gets there. Depth of field is something that you're always wanting to consider when you're using your photography, because it is a way to highlight your point of view, a way of seeing that is really all your own. Some people really love shallow depth of field. Some people really work with deep depth of field quite a bit. Now, getting into the equivalent exposure set here, this was a math problem. And you either got it right or you didn't. I gave you this to start off with and asked you to go ahead and do F8, 60th of a second at 200 and arrive lighting wise at a setting, right? Make it look good at that setting, then do the compensation. F11, 30th, 200, that's the correct compensation. That's why the image looks correct. 22, a 30th at 800, that's the correct compensation. That's why it looks correct. This is all I wanted you to do. To be able to make corrections one direction, to compensate in the other direction, again, using manual control. It's no, magic trick to be able to control in manual mode anymore, because you can get instant feedback. So it's not a super duper accomplishment to be able to do that, but to understand, that's what I'm hoping you guys get out of this. So again, here you've got the solution. It all looks correct. You probably understood now that the solution was the same. If you got it, if you started with the same solution, F8, 60, 200, all three of them, all three of the resets should have been the same idea. It's just a matter of what the lighting looked like that you started off with. Same, all good. Now, the you know better, here's where you had an opportunity to really just explore, just kind of play and see what you can come up with. You're using shadows very effectively here. You're using shadows a little bit too aggressively here. This is just dark. I'm sure you know that. You know it was too dark. But anyway, here, this again, using movement, excellent. It gets a little bit dim, I think. Yeah, not any, we could probably correct this in Photoshop. We don't use Photoshop in this class because I really want everyone to focus on lighting and focus on correctly exposing things, but this is good. This one gets a little bit dark. We'll start to identify that kind of stuff, and you'll understand a little bit better that this one gets a little dark. Again, something we could correct, but we wouldn't want to have to. This one is, I like what you're doing with the focus, and I like what you're doing with movement. It's really inventive, and you're taking risks here. That's what you know better is all about. This one doesn't quite go as far. So this takes a chance and it succeeds. This one takes less of a chance, and I think it feels more tentative. Same thing with this one. You took a little bit of a chance with the exposure. Not sure if it quite rings as well, but hey, that's what you're doing. This one, oh man, you're so close. You know, I think you're right on the edge here of maybe it could work if it was just a slightly bit brighter. Same thing with this. It gets just a little bit too dark. Good job for really experimenting and taking some chances with your exposures. That's what we want to try to do. As long as you're beginning to identify what's working and what's not working, I want you to be able to know, hey, this is just a little darker, this is a little bit light. The technical part of the experiments, you're getting just right. You're working with lighting, you're incorporating the things that we're learning in previous exercises moving forward. You're doing everything right. keep doing that. Keep doing that. I really look forward to seeing more of your photography and seeing what you did with the on location stuff. And we'll see you in the studio. All right. Bye bye now.